So as you guys can see, this engine bay is completely a disaster. Originally I planned to just clean it down and move on to the next part, but upon further inspection, I decided to go down to the store, get some items, and let's see what we can do. So what we're going to do is go ahead and test it out in this area here so that way we don't mess anything up in the better areas, and just in case. But I really feel like this soft bristle brush is going to work out really good. And we're going to use the acetone. We're going to make sure we wear some goggles here. And then what we're going to move on to is, I know, this jumble of mess. Now we're not doing any rewiring on this episode or any episode before we take this car on the road trip with my dad. The reasoning why is, although this looks like a mess, I had rewired a lot of this. Most of these wires are currently doing nothing, or there's one tagged off of it running to the proper area. So the future goal is really to clean that up heavily and remove all those wires. But for now, we're just going to pull them all up, clean up underneath them, and try to tidy them up a little bit, maybe do some electrical tape around them, but make sure they all go back where they are just in case, because the car is running, or was running before disassembling the motor, really well electrical wise. There's not a whole lot of electrical components to this car. So moving on, we're going to remove all this. That's our windshield wiper motor. We may pull that out and not put it back in currently. I'm going to hold on to that just because it does work and it isn't original. And then moving down here, we're going to do the same thing, just clean all this out. I'm thinking because this is fiberglass, we'll probably pull all that off. There's a lot of rotted pieces in here, so we'll go through all that and probably paint this a gloss black that I picked up, made by VHT, which is a high heat. And I also have a flat black, so we'll kind of decide once we get to there, because we're going to be doing a lot of the engine components with that same paint. So stay tuned. I'm going to set up and we're going to go ahead and test it here, and then move on if everything works out well all throughout the engine bay. Let's go ahead and move over to the driver's side of the vehicle, begin to clean everything down, take out the components we can, clean and paint each one of them. So I'm about to hit these final areas with the black paint. I just wanted to show you guys, it's kind of crazy because the red might be the original color, and ironically, if you look at the motor, this is a very common color from what I've done for research and seen before. And if you look down here, you can see that is on top of the red, almost like somebody came in afterwards and tried to paint it more of one of the original colors over the red. So I'm not sure, but we're gonna go ahead and just hit all this with the black. I just wanted to show you that before I moved on because I thought that was kind of unique, and you can see more of it right here. So here's where we're at after a few days of scrubbing, grinding, and then painting. Now, nowhere near is this perfect. I mean, you can see a lot of imperfections, but my goal here was to get rid of all that nasty rubberized coating that I could, and then put a nice fresh coat of paint on here just to protect the surface, and also go ahead and take care of any of the surface rust, which what I did was I just ground that down with the wire brush the best I could, and then hit it with the Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer. Seems to work really well. I've used it on a lot of stuff in the past, and I've had great results without rust coming back. Now, we're going to use a couple other products when it comes to up and underneath the wheel well and stuff, because there is some surface rust there, but those would be future episodes. So where are we at now? So I want to start putting all this back in, so I'm going to rewire everything back in over here, since we had to take out all the wiring just to really get this painted down the way I wanted to. And then let's step over to the brake clutch master cylinder real quick. So you guys might have seen the part where I was trying to get this out. Now, this was a hell of a job to get out, and our brake lines ended up breaking in the back. This is just so rotted in here, and you can see I damaged it slightly just trying to get this out. So this is our clutch and brake master cylinder, and these are our pedals. This is that pedal box. So what I want to do is get this out. I've already ordered a brand new one in with a 3/4 inch bore, which is specific for the front disc brakes. I don't know if this one is that. I really don't have a way of telling, but we ordered in the proper one for this car, so we'll be replacing that completely. And obviously we'll have to redo the brake lines because the brake lines end up snapping off, and I think they might have had a slight leak from there because this thing was not staying full over time. I was losing fluid, and this is not supposed to be wedged in there. This was so jammed I had to use a pair of pliers to get out, and I need to get off these parts because we're not replacing these end pieces here that control the pedal. So the pedal movement is what controls that rod. So right now what I want to do is strip this down the best I can, spray it with rust reformer, rebend back in some of this metal, and we're going to basically get rid of that. And this is our front, basically this is our heater core that we moved to the front for better cooling, and I did that in a long ago video. I will link that below so you guys can see that, but we want to get ahead and paint this now with a black to kind of match everything. So I'm going to set all that up, paint through it, and you guys will see it really quickly, and I'll be putting stuff back in the car, and we'll get back over there. So guys, let's enter into our next phase of what we're going to be doing. Now this is not all completed, but I've started getting all the wiring put back in, a lot of pieces, but I want to get a piece of sheet metal cut to fit in there really nicely, give it a stock look, but finish all that off. Now, of course, batteries cause corrosion, then eventually rust, but this car had a nice piece of fiberglass that was molded into there, which helped further protect it. So let's step over the bench because we're going to use that to mock up our piece of sheet metal. So this is the fiberglass piece I was talking about, and what we did is we laid that out, did some measurements, and now what we're going to do is cut this sheet metal and bend it into place. And then we'll go ahead and paint this, fit it in, go ahead and use some sheet metal screws or some self-tapping screws to get this in there nicely and fit like it was stock. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up now. We're going to cut this and mold it into place. So it's in here. Now I have to make quite a few adjustments. Got to make a notch here so that this can lay flat, and that whole back area is not going in right, so I might have to reshape this just a little bit down this side and probably cut down a lot more on that. But we'll be able to paint this in just a second. Unfortunately, my tripod broke, so I missed out on recording some of this, but you guys are going to see the final product here in a bit, and you got to see a little bit on how I put this together. So pretty excited for a very inexpensive fix to this battery box. This is probably going to be temporary unless we can get it to shape in there really, really nicely, and we might keep it forever. So let's go ahead and get it painted and get it put in properly. So guys, it came out amazing. I absolutely love the way it came out. I'm also going to be putting in a plastic tray as well as a brand new battery, so it's going to look really, really good. The rest of the engine bay came out way better than I originally thought, because like I said, I just planned on getting something on here to prevent any rust from going further so I could grind some of it down, and of course I knew I was going to need to paint over that, and I figured I'm taking a lot of this engine apart. Let me just get in there and get some of this nasty oil residue and the rubberized coating they put in there, and I think this came out really good. I may just end up keeping this and touching up some of the areas that still have a little bit of stuff on there, so I might just grind down that back wall there, maybe do something different, but I still need to clean up all the wiring. That's going to take a lot of time, going to be another episode, because I want to rewire the light, everything to the original wire harness, and a lot of that is bypassed right now. So what did I do? I ended up grinding down underneath this off camera and cutting away a lot of the loose rust, and then I just doused it in this rust dissolver. This stuff works really good. I've used it before. Just be very careful and wear hand protection when using this, because this stuff will burn your hands and it's not fun. So with that said, I'm going to end this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. It was not part of the original plan, at least at this point, but I figured let's go ahead and do it. Let's get it out of the way. We'll come back to the electrical stuff, even though I had to tear a lot of that out to get to this. And it kind of excited me because now I know there's a blinker switch in there. There's a lot of things I wasn't sure of on this car just based off of my minimal research. And calling around to parts places and stuff like that, I found out a lot more about this car that I was not aware of. And I've got a new brake clutch master cylinder on the way, so that's going to be exciting. Hopefully we have this thing started up on the next episode. We're going to be installing the cam. As you can see, I've already got the engine lifted up over that bar, so we were able to take off the crankshaft flywheel, and that'll be part of the next episode. So you guys have an awesome day, a blessed week. I hope you're enjoying this small series on my 1963 Austin Healey Sprite. See you guys next time.